Hi there, I'm Abby, one of the founders of Thatch, and this is a deep dive on our Curated Recommendations services product. So, first, I want to cover what are curated recommendations. You can think of curated recommendations as a custom guide that you're making for a specific client who's given you a specific request about a trip they're going to take. So, I've given you an example here that we're going to go through, and you can see here the request that I got from Ashley. She's looking for outdoors, nature activities, art, boutique shopping, and food in San Francisco. She says she's been there before, so we're going to skip some of the basic San Francisco things to do. So, unlike an itinerary, the curated recommendations product is really about pulling specific recommendations that Ashley can then build her own trip around. So, you can see over here on the left, this is a set of stays that I've offered for her. Importantly, you can see the check prices button, so you know these are all available for commissions within Thatch. Now I've given her some coffee shop recommendations, art museums, places to eat and drink, and then some shopping. So all of these are using the Thatch editor. So you can see this is the same interactive map that you're used to. And this is going to be available on Ashley's mobile device on the Thatch iOS or Android apps as well as on the web. Let's look into how you set up curated recommendations so that you can sell them on your Thatch seller account. So, in order to sell services, you do need to be set up as a seller. Once you're set up as a seller, you have all of these options in the menu here, and we'll go to the services manager. So, this is my services manager and my seller profiles at the top here. You can edit yours from this page as well. And then you can see the specific services that you have on offer. So, I have curated recommendations and consultation calls already set up. And you can see custom itineraries are down here, not yet set up. This is what it will look like on your page if you have not set up curated recommendations yet. Mine are set up, so I'm coming up here. I'll go to the edit menu and I can see all the different fields that I've filled out here. So the first space is an opportunity for you to describe your service. This is a great place for you to talk about what you're well equipped to make curated recommendations about. So for me, I talked about California, where I lived for many, many years. I highlighted some common requests that I would be really well equipped to offer and the different types of travel style that I speak to. Then you'll configure your three packages. You'll just differentiate those mostly based on how many recommendations the client can expect to get at each service level. You can also set a different delivery time for each of those. So if you think 40 recommendations is going to take you a little bit longer, you could change that to 7 days, for example. And then you'll set your price for each package. Maybe the most important part when you're setting up your curated recommendations are the questions that you're going to ask. One of the key questions I'm going to ask is, where are they headed? Do they know exactly where they're going? What do they want to do on their trip? Who's going? Which of my particular travel styles are they hiring me for? So, something you can ask here, I've seen other creators do something like this, is ask specifically for, is there a breakout of how many recommendations they want for each thing? Maybe they only want 2 places to stay and they want 10 coffee shops because that's what they're really into. There's not a limit to the number of questions that you can ask here, but you should think about these come up before the client finishes the checkout experience. So if you ask too many questions at the beginning, it might block them from finishing the checkout. Finally, you'll have an opportunity to take another look at your tags. You can always go edit those in your seller profile if they're not up to date, and then you can save and publish. So that will create the service for you. It will show up on your Hire Me page that folks will be able to get to from your profile or anywhere you show up in our search. And then the third part, what happens once somebody buys this service from you? You will get an email. You will get the answer to all those questions, and you will get the email address of the client that you will be delivering the service to. When that happens, you want to go ahead and go into your library and create a new guide for that client. Like I showed you with Ashley's trip to SF, I think you'll want to think about a good naming structure so that you can keep track of all of the custom curated recommendations that you are putting together. Then you'll probably want to start a blank page. You'll select a cover image and you'll start to add places that are specific to what your client has asked for. So I'll just give one example in here of adding a restaurant. As you know, you'll be able to draw from your existing places that you've already saved into Thatch. So when I click on this, it's going to already have all the information that I've added to this restaurant to make sure that I don't have to recreate that every time. One of the things that makes curated recommendations a really sort of fun product to offer your audience or your community because it can be really easy for you to put this together since you're drawing from things that you already know and maybe have already added into your Thatch. As you know, as soon as you add that place, you will get the map over here on the right-hand side, and you can start thinking about the other pins that you'll add in. I always recommend having headers. So food recommendations, for example. Just a quick tip, if you press tab, you'll get the edit menu so you can actually change the size of that. And then I always like to put a divider line after my headers also. I just think it looks really clean. So I'm going to drag down this restaurant to go under there. And now you can see I already have the beginnings of this custom guide for Ashley all put together. So when I'm done with this, I'll make sure it's saved and then I'll tap the share button. This is really important. You do not need to publish the guide for your client to see it. And in fact, you should not publish the guide. If you publish the guide, it will go on your profile, on your shop. It will also go into our search results. Ashley, your client, probably doesn't want that. So you don't need to press publish. You can just copy the link or you could directly email this out to your client from within Thatch. Then you'll use the email address that we sent to you and you will send that off. And of course, you will stay within the delivery time frame that you promised. So I hope this was helpful. Check out the link in the description below. I will link to that sample curated recommendations guide that I showed you at the beginning for San Francisco. I'll also link to our Services Academy where you can get a ton more resources on how to set up your services, and keep an eye out for the other videos in this series that will cover consultation calls and custom itineraries. Thanks so much, and that's all for now.